Welcome to The Reset, a weekly dispatch of experiences and takes on performance and modern care. For the athlete, the practitioner, and the thinker, we break down recovery, health, and performance systems to reshape the conversation around wellness. Welcome everybody to the Reset audio files. Today's episode will be talking about bridging rehab and real life. How to embrace the spiral of progress in both recovery and self-discovery. We love to believe that progress is linear, that if we do the work, stay consistent, and keep our heads down, the results will follow in a predictable upward line. But healing, whether it's physical or emotional, rarely unfolds that way. It bends, loops, stalls, and sometimes feels like it's going in reverse. The truth is, every setback we face in rehab or in life isn't failure, it's feedback. It's the body and mind's way of showing us where our attention, patience, and perspective still needs to grow. In the clinic, I see this play out every day. People equating pain with regression and progress with perfection. But real healing doesn't look clean or convenient. It asks us to surrender control, to trust the process when nothing seems to be moving, and to recognize that growth often hides inside the messy middle. The same lessons that unfold in recovery, patience, resilience, adaptability, are the very same ones that carry us through life itself. I hope you enjoy it. The Reset, Episode 23. Bridging Rehab and Real Life. How to embrace the spiral of progress in both recovery and self-discovery. Life is not linear. Neither is rehab. Nobody tells you that healing isn't a straight line. That progress doesn't move in one direction. Sometimes it bends, loops, and even doubles back on itself. In the clinic, I see this all the time. Someone starts their journey all fired up, disciplined, ready to get back to where they were. Then, a few weeks in, something shifts. The pain creeps back in, the body stiffens, the motivation dips, and immediately the thought comes, I'm going backwards. Here's the truth. You're not going backwards. You're just meeting another part of the process. Progressing in your rehab is like progressing in life. It's almost a guarantee that you're going to approach a new roadblock once you pass the previous one. It has to be viewed as a new challenge or a checkpoint, because that's what it is. It's hard to regroup sometimes when we are constantly experiencing these setbacks, especially when we have been taught that our whole journey is a straight line. As humans, we love the idea that if we do the work, we'll move forward in a predictable way. It's a simple equation, something we can expect. But that's a comfort tale, and often not the case, if I'm honest. The body doesn't always play by those rules. Healing doesn't always run on timelines or checklists. They can be useful, but it's just not the way it goes. Some days your tissues feel brand new. Other days they feel like they've been beaten down and forgotten. Like everything you taught them is lost. And honestly, life works the same way. We expect growth to come as a reward for our effort. That if we're doing the right things, we should be rewarded with peace, clarity, or stability. But just like in rehab, life throws in flare-ups, setbacks, and days that make you question that if you're really healing at all. Setbacks aren't failure, they're feedback. When a client tells me it hurts again, I don't see that as a step back. I see it as data, more information. The body is communicating with us. It's saying something about how we're moving, loading, or living needs a second look. Also, I find that once a treatment is complete, we have experiences in that new environment. Like an F1 car, getting an upgrade package the week before a race. There has to be some getting used to the new setup, and there will be adjustments needed. But mostly the driver just needs time to get used to the new configuration. That's what you have to do. The same goes for your emotional or mental world. When life gets heavy, the old patterns return. When you feel stuck, it's not failure, it's feedback. Your body and your mind are showing you where the work still lives. Once the work is complete, we can take it for a test drive. use what we've learned, and experience life in our new self. So, the question isn't, why am I back here again? It's, what is this moment trying to show me? When you stop judging the setback, viewing it as only negative, and start listening to it, you create an opportunity for improvements, and your progress hinges on the mental approach to the rebound. The real work. Learning to trust the process. Every recovery journey teaches a kind of surrender. You learn that control is an illusion, that no amount of forcing or perfect planning can rush the body's timing. The same goes for life. Healing isn't about returning to who you were before the injury or before the setback. It's about growing into who you become because of it. You're not rebuilding the old version of yourself. You're constructing a wiser, stronger, more aware one. Sometimes that looks like resting. Sometimes that looks like crying. But progress is progress. Sometimes it's showing up when you don't feel ready because you've decided the journey matters more than the outcome. I want to talk about pain and discomfort and how they're two very important teachers. Pain gets our attention and discomfort builds character. In rehab, we learned the difference early on. Pain means something's wrong. Stop, reassess, protect. Discomfort, though, is different. It's part of the process. It's the body adapting, rebuilding, finding new strength. In life, we often mix those two up. We treat discomfort, the kind that comes with growth, vulnerability, or change, as if it were pain. We pull away instead of leaning in. We protect ourselves from the very moments that could actually strengthen us. But healing, real, lasting healing, demands that we make peace with discomfort. It's not punishment, it's progress in disguise. And if there's one thing about rehab and life, it's that healing is not a destination. It's a very long process and it has no destination. You don't graduate from these stages of healing. You grow through them, and you learn to adopt them in everyday practice. When we begin to view ourselves as complex environments consisting of working parts with our mind at the center, we start to apply the concept of practicality in our healing. The complexity is not limited to ourselves, and the fact that we are an extremely diverse and confusing being means that the potential for further complications and diversions is extremely high naturally. Every phase brings a new lesson, a new layer of strength, a new kind of understanding about what your body and your story are capable of. So when you feel stuck, when life doesn't seem to be moving forward the way you hoped, remember this: you're not behind, you're in process. And that exactly is where the healing happens. I have a short story to share from a client of mine who's given me permission to speak about her journey of healing. We won't go into too much detail, but I will give you the gist of it and lay out the land. She's an active human, enjoys the gym, hiking, skiing. She enjoys accomplishing things and needs to solve problems. Not knowing what's going on in her life and her body is extremely uncomfortable for her, as it is for most, and she has a tendency to lean into her negative emotions when the answers aren't within reach. So she suffered a complex injury that would effectively change the way she moves and exercises forever. I mean, any injury has that potential, but this one specifically was dramatic enough to have an actual alteration in the way that her body is. A leg injury that required surgical intervention and months of rehab. Her entire system needed to accept the damage and repair for what it was and relearn how to become functional again. This is a very complex injury with a lot of moving parts, and we won't go into detail about all of them, but we did our best to explain this to her. Day to day, in the early days post-op, the pain was high, the limitation she felt was higher, and she struggled to find positivity. Now, from a practitioner's point of view, I have to say that I have to rely on a lot of different tools in these scenarios. Some would say that there's not much you can do with the physical treatment within this time, and that's just nonsense. But the physical treatment is not what matters most. No matter how good I can be in those hours that I see her, what matters most in managing the patient's mindset and approach is the mental side. Without her body's approval, the brain can't conceive what needs to happen and won't allow it to happen. So the work won't have staying power anyways. This comes down to my ability to speak with her and to get to know what makes her tick. Understanding her mindset and approach to life is paramount in the ability I have to help her heal. With some early successful treatments, we managed to get some range of motion back in the knee and decrease pain significantly within a treatment. After days, the stiffness would return, and it wasn't as bad as before, but nonetheless, it was still there. The pain would amplify again. I don't understand how it can feel so good after treatment, but a few days later feel worse again. Why can't it just stay the way it does after a session? She would say this to me regularly. Valid questions, and ones that I had to field most of the time I saw her. She couldn't grasp the concept because she was focused on the barriers that she was experiencing in that moment. Failure to compare to previous checkpoints can be detrimental to your health, especially mentally, but failure to focus on what you can control in the moment can be worse. So we switched gears to a more grounded approach where every session we tackled each task as if there were stages of healing within each single problem we faced. Knee flexion limitation? Let's create checkpoints to reach and move forward consistently through surrounding structures and how they can help or hurt the progress. Quadriceps weakness and pain? Let's focus on feeling rather than the numbers. The quality of the movement and the treatment was way more important than the quantity. And this is kind of how I work regularly anyway, so it worked very well for her. And it required a shift from textbook protocols to a more curated treatment protocol that I made specifically for her. No two treatments were the same, and once she accepted the process of healing and regained focus on the quality of effort every day, she saw huge results. It was almost like her body was waiting for that shift to happen in order to progress into another realm of capabilities. Her mindset changed, and even today I noticed that change stuck for her. She focuses on the present and how she can maximize her efforts within that day. It changed the way that the rehab worked, and it changed the way that she worked. A thought to leave you with. I understand that it can be difficult to accept at times, but life will never be without its setbacks. Those close to me know firsthand that I have the ability to get down on myself when I feel I've failed to move forward or progress my life. When negative outcomes pile on one by one. It's almost impossible to get through those tough times when I continuously pay more energy towards the things that show themselves as roadblocks or failures. That goes for rehab and for real life. The single tool I've learned and continue to learn about is how to use these barriers to my advantage. The way I see it, they've already shown themselves. They're out in the open, and there's no guessing left. From there, it just comes down to the will I can conjure up to face them, to move forward. Think of a chess game. You're facing an opponent, you've moved your piece forward, and you immediately start to plan your potential moves based on what you think they'll do to respond to you. All that calculation is speculative. All of it shadows in a dark room. Then their piece drops. You're on the clock, but half the work is done. You understand your options. You only have to make your move. So make it. Move forward, untethered to the past. Freedom is something we all seek, and you will always have the freedom to respond the way that is best for you. So what if this setback you're facing right now is actually the feedback you need to move differently in your body or in your life? The only way to move is the way through. In health and performance, Alex.